Good morning. I'm Shelley Maley with Dreamcatcher Career Coaching, and this is my podcast, Young Professionals Career Catalyst. My guest today is Shelby Light, licensed real estate broker with Keller Williams. Welcome to the Young Professionals Career Catalyst.
Oh,
Shelby,
thank you. Thank you for having me.
getting off to a rough start this morning.
More coffee.
I haven't had any yet. That's my problem.
Wow.
So let's talk about real estate. So in some of the careers you've had in the past, what did you envision doing when you were a kid?
So I went to college for child psychology
Okay.
and then changed my major to industrial and organizational psychology
Okay.
because I was at the time I was working for Home Depot and was all into management and things of that sort. So ended up staying with Home Depot. And from there, went into construction. And then from construction with my ex husband, through my divorce, I ended up getting into real estate. So I jokingly say I've been in the housing industry of some sort since I was 16 years old, working at a lumber yard.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what led you to develop an interest in real estate specifically?
So I actually fell into real estate because of my divorce. When I was, my construction company was in the same building that my real estate broker's offices in Quakertown. So my landlady was my team leader. And as I was finagling, going through divorce and closing my business and trying to figure out all of these different things, she asked me, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm not real sure. Because again, I had been literally, I'd never had to go look for a job. I went into Home Depot when I was in my 20s. I stayed with them till I was, self-employed. And knowing that she was a realtor and I did a lot of networking for my construction company, she had said, give me your resume. And I said, I just made it. And then she said, I'd like to give you a disc test. And I was like, what is that? And she's like, well, it'll just help you, determine what you might be equipped to do.
Mhm.
And again, being a networker, I know realtors network all the time. So she gave me the disc and called me a couple days later and said, you're not going to believe this, but you are a perfect fit to be an admin for my team. My admin is moving to California. Would you like a job?
Wow.
And so at the time, she was going back and forth to Florida. Her dad was ill, and she was looking at maybe getting her license in Florida as well. So she literally paid me that December to work from my house, get onto YouTube and learn the different programs that she was doing. And I was an admin for her team for a year before I got my license. I was able to kind of watch everything and
Mhm.
learn all of the back office part of it and watch all of the negotiations and things of that sort, and decided that I knew I could do that. So I got my license and I worked for her Monday through Friday from 7 to 3. And then I sold real estate on nights and weekends. And then from there, I ended up getting my license and went full time the following year.
That's amazing. And that was quite unexpected. That's not something you ever envisioned doing.
No, it was not, but it's something that I absolutely love.
And that's so obvious every time I see you and talk to you that you really enjoy what you're doing.
Thank you.
And that's so important.
It really is. It makes a difference in the day for sure.
So, has your psychology experience in
Ah,
college and the industrial
industrial
psychology,
organizational psychology. Yeah.
yeah, does that help in what you're doing currently?
I would say so. I mean, I think that it's really important to understand people, and especially with real estate, it's a very emotional process for whether it's a buyer or a seller. I mean, it's one of the largest financial, decisions you're going to make, and especially when it comes to I specialize in a couple different key areas, and one of them is divorces. And so I currently I have three different families that I'm currently working with that are going through a divorce, and some of them go easy and others not so easy. And the same with, I have my senior residential specialist certification, and I have an 85-year-old that I'm working with right now that there's a lot of emotion in trying to get the house ready to be put on the market so that she can go into assisted living.
Yes.
So being able to hear people where they're at and take the emotion out on my part and just be that person that is steady for them, I think has been very beneficial to me in learning what I learned when I was in college and getting my psychology.
Yes, absolutely. I think psychology is a great background to have.
I am fortunate.
So, how does one learn to be a realtor?
So there's continuing education. So you start out with taking your real estate. What's the word I want to use? Well, I went to school for it, so I ended up going through and having to get 16 hours of continuing education. I think it was no, it wasn't 16 hours. It was more than 16 hours for the initial part of it, but had to pass the different exams so that I could then go for the state and national. Ended up getting that done, and then it's just continuing to do continuing ed thereafter. We have 16 hours of continuing ed every 2 years that we have to do. But one of the great things that I love about Keller Williams is that we actually created our own real estate school that we offer sponsorships to agents that if they're looking to get into the business, they have the opportunity to go to real estate school for free, get all the tools that they need so that they're then prepared to go ahead and take that state and national exam.
Okay, so I would assume that some of the other real estate companies also have their own schools, or
I don't know of any other real estate company that does. Keller Williams didn't have it back when I got my license. I just went to a real estate school for that in Bucks County, but KW created their school, I want to say 2 years ago. I may be off on that, but
okay.
It's an opportunity. I actually, there's a young man that just recently joined one of my networking groups, and he's just started the online classes just because he had the opportunities. He's 20 years old looking to get into real estate.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's a lot quicker than going to college for 4 years. And
It is. I mean, it's definitely a low cost to get into the business. I mean, there is an expense, but it's minimal compared to starting your own career in other fields.
Right.
It's not as easy as everyone thinks that it is. It's not, you just get your real estate license and people start calling you.
Right.
I think the statistics are there's over 22,000 realtors in the area. And I jokingly say, at our networking groups all the time of how many realtors do you know? And you can probably count at least 10 because of all the working that you do. I mean, you know tons of us.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So what are the most essential skills that a realtor needs to have?
Definitely strong communication.
Yes.
And that's to go with communicating with your clients, but also the co-brokers that you're working with. There's nothing worse than having some hothead on the other end of a transaction and, not being able to get to that win-win situation that, is key. Negotiation skills are another. I'm currently right now, literally before we got on this podcast, looking at a buyer's response to a home inspection and the things that they want to request, and reading the language in this strong email that I was sent this morning of what they want. I'm going to have to coach this client on there needs to be some negotiations here, or you're going to lose this house because you can pound your fist and say, I want this, but it has to be, you're buying a used house. You're
Right.
not buying new construction. So, it's one of those things of, again, being able to communicate and having them be heard, but also know that they need to be reasonable. So
Right.
that'll be a project today.
So, what are the key differences between successful and less successful realtors?
I would say that a successful realtor is constantly out there working, meaning, if you're taking a bunch of vacations and you're not going out and doing the work to create the business, it's not going to come to you.
Right.
There, what I do now is normally what's going to possibly be 30, 60, 90 days out, and getting, that, because I don't get paid until I settle on either, giving the keys to the buyer or handing the keys away
Right.
from the seller. And if you're constantly, oh, well, I want to do this with my family. And again, there's work-life balance, don't get me wrong. And I do make sure that I have that.
Mhm.
But if you stop, you might not have the opportunity to get the business.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, what do you attribute your personal success to?
I would say that, well, besides being blessed, I would say that my business comes from all of the networking that I do, and firsthand.
Mhm.
You're a mass networker as well, and it's just being there and showing up and trying to connect other people. That's one of the things that I try really hard to do, is connect individuals together.
Mhm.
And again, in my career, that's really important, because you've got buyers and sellers that are moving to different areas that they don't know. So if I can genuinely say, I know a person that can do this for you, and I give tons of referrals, and my referral partners appreciate that, and they then reciprocate and supply me that business back. And
Right.
I think a lot of it is partnerships as well. I mean, I have strong relationships with attorneys and with financial advisors and with insurance agents and mortgage lenders, that they know when I give them business, it's a solid referral to them, and they reciprocate that.
Right. That's so important, is building that network. No matter what you're doing, you have to have
Right.
a network to be successful.
Yeah.
So, how important is the continuous learning and development and training in your field?
So I think it's really important to stay on the ball. I mean, this year for me was like a true growth year. Like, that was my word for the year, was growth. And
Mhm.
that's where I got my broker's license this year. And I just got residential probate certified. The more things that I know, the more beneficial I am to help my clients that are in need.
Right.
And I'm able to give them the guidance that they need, as well as, you know, on my team, that my team leader has, we've got newer agents that they don't know what they don't know, and so I'm able to, field some of those phone calls and help them, so that they are as successful as they, try to be.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm assuming the real estate business is more seasonal. Am I correct in that assumption?
I would say yes and no. I
Okay.
mean, people go with the whole spring market, or, it's going to slow down during the holidays. But this is something that I say all the time, is the 5 Ds of real estate. And that is diamonds, diapers, divorce, downsizing, and death.
Yes.
And there's always going to be someone that needs to sell or needs to buy, no matter what time of year it is.
True.
So it's just, again, and right now interest rates last week went down, so I think we're going to see an influx of buyers coming back out,
Hmm.
um, and they're going to jump now because of that.
Right. Right. So, how do you prepare for the potential slower times? Is there anything you can do in advance or?
I think that it's just really important to be aware of your numbers, looking at your, staying in your business. Quite often, like I have my P&L and I have, my budget of what I plan on, and make sure that you save for that day that you might not have any
Mhm.
settlements or anything coming, and just balancing that out and watching what you spend, red light, green light, right? And
Right.
knowing where you're putting your money, and what's working and what's not working, and being aware of that.
Mhm. So what's your favorite part of being a realtor?
The people.
The people?
Yeah, I mean, I say, like, I just get to hang out with people all day, and on the back end of it I sell houses. Like, I just, there are so many great individuals that I have just been blessed to meet, whether it's through the networking aspect of making friends like you,
Mhm.
and having, connections with that, or being that person that is holding someone's hand as they're going through different things. I love people, and I get to show up for them, and that
Mhm.
makes me happy.
Are there any least favorite parts of being a realtor?
Um, yes, of course. I would say that it's always tough when you have emotional clients,
Yes.
and they're in places that you can't help them. You're watching them go down, like spiraling out of control, and there's nothing that you can do personally
Mhm.
about it. And just having to have hard conversations at times is tough.
Mhm.
But if you're honest and you're fair and open, then it's sometimes there's tough conversations you have to have.
Yeah. Well, that's with anything, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So, what other career possibilities are there in real estate? We've talked about realtors, but there's lots of other possibilities too. Tell us about those.
So, I mean, it's interesting because Keller Williams, we actually, when someone is getting ready to go into real estate, we give them our own, it's called a KPA, Keller Personality Assessment. And it goes through by asking you questions, and it'll help you identify, would you be better as an independent agent? Would you be better on a team? Would you be a better as a listing agent? Would you be better as a buyer's agent? Would you be better at going and doing mortgages and being a mortgage loan officer, or looking at insurance and being an insurance agent versus a title officer? So there are all different aspects. And one of the things that I love to do when I mentor for the Quakertown School District, and I have my mentees meet with, my mortgage insurance and my loan officers, and the title, and they get to see the team that I'm surrounded with, that
Mhm.
totally support the client, and that we have a strong team of individuals that everybody is involved in it. So there's totally different aspects of not just real estate. It takes a team of people to help you.
Absolutely. And that's great that you're giving those students that opportunity to see all angles.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. So, what's one piece of advice you would give today's young professional or recent college graduate if they're interested in a real estate career?
Do not assume that once you have your license, people are going to call you. You
Okay.
need to get out there. You need to make yourself known, and you need to come from contribution, not from receiving. So, meaning, show up for people and continue to show up and do things for them so
Hmm.
that you receive that reciprocation. Don't just think that I'm going to show up and I'm going to give you my card and you're going to call me,
Right.
because there's way too many of us that you're not going to get that phone call. You've got to show up and you've got to do the work.
Right. Yes, we always say people want to work with those that they know, like, and trust.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
I'm sure that's really relevant in your business because, like you said, it's the most expensive purchase you'll ever make. So,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
have to have that comfort level with you. So that's great. So what's the best way that our listeners can get in touch with you?
So many different ways. Hopefully you can find me on Google, but I can be reached via my phone, which is my cell phone. And should I give that phone number out?
Why don't we do just like your LinkedIn or your website or something like that?
So if you go on to ShelbySellsHomesPA.com, you'll have
Okay.
all of my contact information there.
Perfect. That's perfect. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today, Shelby. To my audience, thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and watch this and earlier episodes of my podcast on my YouTube channel. And tune in next week for the next edition of the Young Professionals Career Catalyst.
Thank you.
Thank you.